Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to today's Partner Academy Live webcast, Transforming the Sales Conversation, Sales in the New Economy with the Private Cloud with Mark Hassall. Welcome to our 12-part monthly webcast series to help you win in the new economy, hit your sales targets, compete to win, and thrive in our mobile world. Join us Wednesday of every month at 8 a.m. Pacific for a new session each month to improve your selling skills. And now, without any further delay, it is my pleasure to hand you over to today's presenter, Mark Hassall, who is a Director for Windows Server and Management Marketing. Now, without any delay, Mark, you now have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today. I'm responsible for two-partner marketing in the Windows Server and Management Marketing team here at our corporate headquarters in Redmond. And I'm excited to be with you today and to have the opportunity to talk about how to sell a Microsoft private cloud solution. Cloud computing really is changing the conversation with customers, and therefore it's changing the way that you need to sell as well. Yesterday the conversation was all about cost reduction and consolidation. Today the conversation is about a new breed of benefits that cloud computing delivers, and that's things like improved agility and responsiveness, increased business alignment and focus, as well as, of course, reduced total cost of ownership. And if you're successful in changing the conversation with your customers, the opportunity really is huge. You can exceed your sales quotas by increasing deal sizes, you can sell more high-value, high-margin services, and you can expand your role as a trusted advisor to your customers. So, with that in mind, what I'd like to discuss in the presentation really is divided into three parts. Part one is about understanding and solving your customers' needs. And I'm going to start with a quick definition of what is private cloud computing, because there's a lot of confusion in the market amongst our customers about what cloud computing is. I'll then talk about how the Microsoft private cloud solution is differentiated from our competitors. I'll talk about some of the customer economics of a Microsoft cloud solution versus some of our competitors. And I'll end that section by talking a little bit about where we're heading with the Microsoft Private Cloud roadmap. We have some exciting new products coming out into market soon in the shape of System Center 2012 and Windows Server 8. Part two is going to be about how to drive the sales conversation. And I'm going to start off by talking about how to sell a Microsoft Private Cloud solution, basically by asking three simple questions. That'll lead to identify what their specific needs are, and I'd like to share with you a new tool that we've created called the Microsoft Cloud Assessment Tool that'll help you guide that conversation and really dig into the details to understand the business needs of your customers. And then I'll close that section by talking a little bit about how Microsoft licenses private cloud solutions through something called the enrollment for core infrastructure. And then part three is going to be about how to create some sales opportunities. And I want to talk about our go-to-market strategies and how we're providing some of the air cover for you to create sales leads and create awareness for Microsoft solutions. And I'll highlight some of the key sales tools, our channel incentives, and the resources that you can take advantage of. And then I'll try and save as much time as possible for Q&A. So that's the agenda. What I'd like to do quickly, however, is just go into a couple of polls before we start into the content. And the first one is, have you already taken a Microsoft Sales Specialist accreditation or assessment? There's 4 available today, so just let me know if you've taken any of those accreditations. Okay, kind of an even split between virtualization and server platform. And then the next question I have is, have you taken a sales accreditation from another vendor? Particularly interested in whether or not you've taken accreditation specifically around virtualization with VMware, or just tell me if there's other vendors that you've taken accreditations with. Cool. Well, that gives me a better idea of the kind of accreditations you've already taken. So let's dig down now into the content. Let's get started on that first section around solving customers' needs through private cloud computing. And the first thing I want to do is really ground ourselves in what are the challenges that your customers are facing today. because there's a lot of them. First, your customers are constantly fighting server sprawl across their businesses in different departments, different branches, whether that's due to acquisitions or just because they have to support some kind of legacy infrastructure. And therefore, not surprisingly, about 70% of your customers' IT budgets are typically being spent on maintaining data centers, typically in silos. We also often hear from customers that they're concerned about security and compliance. In addition to the expanse of what your customers are being asked to manage, what they're being asked to manage is increasingly complex. For example, I put a statistic here down for you. Did you know that the average billion-dollar company manages 48 disparate financial systems? These are the kinds of mission-critical applications that are running their businesses, but clearly having that many disparate systems to manage is going to lead to a lot of complexity. And then finally, both the business owners and the application owners in your customers are starting to work around you. They're citing reasons being able to build the solutions they're looking for faster and cheaper and kind of doing it on their own. And this can create gaps in your knowledge of your customer's IT landscape and basically make it harder to sell into these areas of the business. So these are some of the challenges that you're facing today, and you might be asking yourself the question, well, you know, is it even possible, given all of these challenges, to sell private cloud computing? And the reality is that yes, it is, and I'll give you just a couple of examples to illustrate this. The first one is with a customer called China Telecom. They're one of the largest telecoms companies in the People's Republic of China, and they were looking to expand their hosting business. They built up a number of internet data centers around the country, and what they were trying to do is use their existing internet communications lines and their broadband services to provide commercial and government users with server co-location and leasing services. In other words, to expand what they have today and move it into the cloud. And what they've been able to achieve with Microsoft software is they've got their first internet data center up and running in just 6 months. And according to their CIO, they were able to achieve this in half the time it would have taken using VMware, realizing significantly lower costs. And then the other example I'll give you is with a customer called Miele, who are a manufacturer of premium household appliances, things like Hoovers. And to reduce the server sprawl and the data center costs that they were experiencing, they deployed a very large virtualization solution based on VMware. But to expand its virtualized environment, the company evaluated and then ultimately deployed Windows Server 2008 R2 Data Center Edition with Hyper-V, and they managed this complete virtualization infrastructure using a system center. And so far, Miele has been able to migrate over 500 virtual machines from VMware to Hyper-V. They've achieved a savings of about $1.8 million or about 1.5 million euros because of this global approach to virtualization, decreasing their physical server hardware needs by more than 50%, and by improving the productivity of their administrators and reducing their licensing costs. So despite all of these challenges, customers have been able to gain significant benefits. So let's talk a little bit about what is private cloud computing, because like I said earlier, there's a lot of confusion around this particular subject. To give you a quick definition, private cloud is the implementation of cloud services on resources that are dedicated to a customer's organization, whether they exist on-premises, on the customer site, or whether or not they exist off-premises and that they're hosted by a partner. And typically, a private cloud solution will kind of show the characteristics that I'm highlighting here. And the first of those is pooled resources. In a private cloud, resources are pooled across business units, and by that I mean computing resources, storage resources, networking resources, and that enables you to drive efficiency and enable a greater scale. By allowing multiple business units to share these resources, your customers can achieve much higher resource utilization and therefore get more efficient use out of that infrastructure. The second characteristic is self-service. In a cloud environment, consumers need to be able to request, configure, and manage the services that they need through some kind of interactive portal or system that basically allows them to to automate the provisioning of these services down to the users and the business units that require them. Thirdly is the elasticity. Once these resources have been pooled, they need to be dedicated to one service and expanded or contracted through automation or workflow. You literally need to be able to dial these services up, scale them up, or dial them down when you don't need them. And this means that you can basically scale up or down to meet the needs of the business as and when there's some demand for those kinds of resources. And then finally, usage-based. In order to ensure that the usage of services can get charged back to the appropriate users or business units that consume them, you typically have to have some kind of metering that can keep track of all of this usage. So those are some of the common characteristics of a cloud environment. But what really differentiates private cloud from public cloud is that it is customizable and can be very tightly controlled. A private cloud is built on resources, remember, that are dedicated to a specific organization. And that means you have to have much greater control and customization over that cloud architecture. And private cloud really appeals to those customers who are concerned about not just privacy, but also security, compliance, and data sovereignty. And they want to have that control over their environment. Now, Microsoft Private Cloud Solutions are built on Windows Server 2008 R2, Hyper-V, which is our hypervisor built into Windows Server, and the Microsoft System Center suite of management solutions. And they provide a variety of different benefits. They offer deep insights into the applications. They provide cross-platform support for a heterogeneous environment. They provide the ability to extend applications and workloads between private, public, and even hybrid cloud environments. So that's a quick definition of cloud computing. And one of the things I often get asked is, isn't that just virtualization? Sounds very similar. And the reality is, it's not. Virtualization has been around for years. You can think of it in the simplest way as the ability to create a virtual resource that can run on a single machine. And rather than pay for many underutilized server machines, virtualization allows you to consolidate those workloads onto a smaller number of better utilized machines. That's what virtualization, and specifically server virtualization, is all about, and that's what our competitors are known for. Private cloud really goes much further beyond this by creating this central pool or several pools of resources that can be added and removed as needed and make even more efficiency gains. So the key kind of differentiator is this continued abstraction of the resources from the infrastructure and the machines used to deliver those kinds of resources. So what this next slide is trying to show you is that the opportunity for private cloud really is much greater than it is for server virtualization. The particular scenario I'm showing here is based on a 100-server consolidation scenario, and clearly there are some significant partner margins to be gained just by selling server virtualization. In this scenario, as much as $132,000 worth of opportunity. But again, if you look to the right, you can see that the partner margins grow significantly, over 50% higher, when you take into account a full-blown private cloud solution. So this clearly shows that there's lots of opportunity to gain new revenue and gain new margin by selling complete private cloud projects versus just server virtualization. In general, when customers implement a virtualization solution, they're looking at much larger projects. They're typically looking at storage area networks, network upgrades, data center consolidation. In fact, the actual server virtualization component of a private cloud solution can actually be a relatively small part of the overall total. So in our experience, when customers are buying a private cloud solution, it's combined with many other Microsoft products, particularly systems management, but also identity and security, and also application development. And selling a private cloud deployment enables you to provide strategic advice to your customers on not just private cloud, but their long-term cloud strategy. In other words, what kind of workload should stay on-premise, which kind of workload should perhaps move to a hosted environment, and what part of that infrastructure should move up to a public cloud environment. You can see it's a huge business opportunity, and you can participate in this with a full range of cloud offerings from Microsoft. So let's get into kind of a definition of what a Microsoft private cloud solution is and how it really is different from what our competitors offer. It really boils down to these four things. First and foremost, it's all about the application. It helps you focus on the primary business value that you're delivering to your customers, which is application services management. Secondly, it's about cross-platform from the metal up. In other words, a Microsoft private cloud solution will work across platforms and across multiple hypervisors. It'll basically make the best use of the existing investments and skill sets that your customers already have and that you have. It also offers best-in-class performance for their most business sort of demanding needs, particularly on Microsoft line of business solutions. And it offers the cloud on your terms. In other words, it empowers you to manage a hybrid cloud sort of environment through common management, common identity, and common development tools across not just a private cloud environment, but also a public cloud environment. Let's dig into each of these in a little bit more detail. I'm going to fly through this pretty quickly, but I want to make sure that you clearly understand how a Microsoft private cloud solution is different from the competition. And the first of those is it's all about the application. I'm sure you know this as salespeople, that as your customers start to move from a virtualized infrastructure to a cloud-based infrastructure, their focus is going to begin to shift away from just managing virtual machines and focus much more on managing the applications and services that are running in the cloud. Because applications are ultimately what power your customers' businesses. They're the source of the competitive advantage that your customers have. And therefore, their application requirements need to derive their private cloud infrastructure and not the other way around. And a Microsoft private cloud infrastructure, and specifically enabled through System Center 2012, we can optimize the health of your customers' applications. We can ensure that we're delivering high availability, the very best performance, the very best reliability, which are clearly critical for to keep your customers' applications up and running and making sure that they're productive. System Center 2012 specifically offers very deep application insight right down to the actual line of code to help you as a partner discover and identify what a potential problem is and remediate that issue, whether it's to do with the infrastructure or the actual application itself, before it becomes a big issue and before it really impacts the performance of your customers. So you do the math. You figure out how much revenue you can influence for your customers just simply by improving their application availability and application performance. We know it's a lot because we manage a number of mission-critical application services in a public cloud environment. Solutions like Hotmail and Windows Live, we run those in our data center, and we know that the highest levels of application performance are critical to our customers. And what we're now trying to do with private cloud is bring that down to a data center into the environments of your customers. The next benefit is cross-platform from the metal up. And a Microsoft private cloud solution supports not just Microsoft hypervisors, but also non-Microsoft hypervisors, operating systems, and development frameworks. We basically leverage the existing investments and skills that your customers and that you have today. So specifically, Microsoft private cloud supports Hyper-V, VMware ESX, and vSphere 4.1, as well as Citrix ThenWorks. We support multiple guest operating systems in addition to Windows. For example, we support Red Hat and SUSE for Linux, as well as the CentOS operating system. We support all the major application development frameworks, so not just .NET from Microsoft, but Java, PHP, Ruby, and others. And finally, we offer cross-platform configuration management through System Center Configuration Manager, as well as integrated automation across different management tool sets from many different vendors, including HP, Computer Associates, BMC, etc. And we do that through a new product called System Center Orchestrator. So in short, Microsoft takes a very open and comprehensive approach to supporting a heterogeneous environment. The next thing we offer is best-in-class performance. And we can offer application scalability, performance, and availability for all of the top mission-critical applications that your customers are running. And here's a series of benchmarks that were run by a company called Enterprise Strategy Group, third-party benchmarking organization. And you can see that we can support up to 450,000 concurrent SharePoint users on a single server running 5 virtual machines, 80,000 online transaction processing users on one server running 4 virtual machines, and 20,000 Exchange mailboxes on a single server with 5 virtual machines. These are huge numbers, and they basically show that Hyper-V can be used to virtualize, tier 1, your most mission-critical data center applications. And then finally, cloud on your terms. We believe it's going to be a hybrid world for many years to come. Your customers are going to be using physical resources, virtual resources, cloud computing resources in both the private and the public domain. And what we have is a common and consistent approach to controlling all of that across their data center investments. So we have a common approach to identity. Active Directory is our platform, and it allows you as partners to build solutions where you can federate identities and build single sign-on experiences for applications that run across private and public clouds. We have a common approach to management through System Standard 2012 that can provide full visibility and control across a hybrid environment. So you can manage both your private, your public, and your hybrid clouds from a single pane of glass. We have a common approach to development tools. Through Visual Studio and .NET, we can build applications that work across private and public cloud environments, as well as provide you with the migration tools to move applications from one cloud to another. And then, of course, we have a common approach to virtualization with capabilities like VM role and server application virtualization. We can provide that application portability across the cloud. So hopefully that's given you a sense for the 4 key ways that we're differentiating a Microsoft Cloud solution from the competition. And one further way to differentiate us is by looking at the customer economics. How much does it cost for a Microsoft Private Cloud solution versus, in this case, a VMware? And you can see it's at least 3 times more expensive to purchase a VMware solution compared to Microsoft. And why is that? Well, that's because Microsoft utilizes a licensing program called the Enrollment for Core Infrastructure, which I'm going to get into in a little bit more detail later. But basically, this is a way that you can license through a single SKU all of the components, the individual products that you need to build a private cloud from Microsoft. The VMware Cloud Infrastructure Suite, on the other hand, is built on 3 different licensing schemes. vSphere, for example, is licensed on a per processor basis with virtual RAM entitlements. vCenter is licensed on a per instance basis. vCenter Site Recovery Manager and all the other, vCenter suite of operation, security, products, etc., are all licensed on a per VM basis. So each of the VMware Cloud Infrastructure Suite products are priced differently from each other, and they follow a per VM, per instance, and per processor sort of mechanism. In contrast, Microsoft ECI, the Enrollment for Core Infrastructure, is priced consistently based on a per processor, whether you go for the standard, the enterprise, or the data center version. So just looking at this pricing comparison, which is looking at ECI Data Center from Microsoft versus VMware's Cloud Infrastructure Suite, you can see the price is at least 3 times more expensive for VMware, and these prices include the licensing and support over a three-year period of time. It clearly shows that VMware's current licensing model for private cloud computing places restrictions on customers and essentially taxes them as they go. So while the initial cost may seem tolerable for some customers, each time they add a new virtual machine, they're typically going to be paying as they go, and they're going to have to keep paying each time they spin up new virtual machines and add new private cloud capabilities. So we're confident that we have a very attractive product from a price perspective, and the results are showing it. So, look how far we've come. Microsoft's share is growing in the marketplace. In the past year, we've released new products, Windows Server 2.8 R2 with Service Pack 1, which includes support for new virtualization capabilities in the shape of dynamic memory and remote FX. And as a result of that, we're seeing our market share grow. And you can see over the last 2 years, we've had a 16-point increase in our market share, which is a faster rate of growth if you look at the top right-hand corner compared to VMware. We're also seeing recognition from the industry and specifically from analysts. Gartner recently published their 2011 Magic Quadrant for x86 server virtualization. And as you can see, Microsoft is now listed as a leader. In fact, Microsoft and Citrix have both joined VMware in the leader quadrant, showing that we've increased our vision and our ability to execute. And coming on the heels of various shootouts comparing Microsoft with other virtualization technologies, as well as all of the benchmarking that I mentioned earlier from the Enterprise Strategy Group, this kind of rounds out a lot of industry recognition for Windows Server and our readiness to play in the enterprise space. And also we're seeing significant momentum from customers who are starting to run their businesses on Microsoft's virtualization and management technologies. I'll just highlight one customer quickly, and that's Target, who are running all of their business-critical workloads throughout all of its retail stores on Microsoft Virtualization and System Center. That's a total of 15,000 virtual machines. They virtualize their inventory, their point of sale, their supply chain management, all of their asset protection, their in-store digital media, etc. Everything is running on Windows Server 2008 R2 with Hyper-V and System Center. And this is just one customer example of a very large-scale deployment of virtualization and cloud computing. And then the final thing I want to touch on in this section is kind of our roadmap for the future, which we're very excited about. As I said before, Microsoft has been growing its market share significantly since the launch of Hyper-V back in 2008. Next on the horizon is System Center 2012, which provides a very comprehensive tool set for managing your customers' data centers, their private clouds, and their public cloud infrastructure. It enables you to expand your role as a trusted advisor by helping you to integrate and manage all of the heterogeneous investments that your customers have. It enables you to deliver business value and help your customers to reduce their costs by providing that deep insight to the applications to improve application performance and availability. And it allows you to expand into new markets and connect with more customers because you can provide very comprehensive private and public cloud solutions that are managed by System Center from a single pane of glass. And we think the future looks even brighter with Windows Server 8, which was showcased for the first time at the developer conference at Build just a couple of weeks ago and is going to ship next fiscal. And I just want to kind of share with you some of the kind of the highlights from that event. These are just some of the quotes that we got from journalists and from analysts who were taking a look at Windows Server 8 for the first time. I'll let you read through all of the quotes, but essentially Windows Server 8 is going to offer 4 broad sets of benefits to your customers and to you as partners. First and foremost, it brings the experience from building and operating all of the public clouds that Microsoft has to deliver the most dynamic, available, and cost-effective server platform for cloud-enabled IT. In other words, we're bringing down all of the learnings that we've got from managing some of the world's largest public cloud infrastructures, and we're bringing that down into Windows Server and enabling you to deliver it in a private cloud environment. It's going to enable systems integrators and hosters to offer very scalable, dynamic, and multi-tenant aware cloud infrastructure that will enable you to connect across premises and allow you to respond to the business needs of your customers much faster and more efficiently. It's a very open, scalable, and cloud-ready platform for building web and other applications. And finally, it's built for distributed and mobile workforces and provides a secure way for your users to access all of their work environment, regardless of where they happen to be located. So I hope you're as kind of excited as we are by the future and what Windows Server 8 is going to deliver. But let's now turn our attention to how do we sell all of this great products and great technologies? How do we actually start to drive the sales conversation? And I'm going to say to you that I think it's as simple as starting the conversation with 3 simple questions. And the first of those questions, when you think about kind of their environment today, which is increasingly being virtualized, and they're starting to create this central pool of virtualized resources, the first question to ask your customers is, what percentage of your data center is virtualized? Based on all of the sales calls that we've been doing here at Microsoft, at least based in the US, and it may vary a little bit based on your geography, less than 50% of the accounts are virtualized today, but they still list virtualization as a top priority. So clearly there's an awful lot of white space that still exists, particularly in the corporate account space, but also even higher up into the enterprise space as well. So once you've established that there's still some white space available for specifically virtualization, the next question to ask clearly is who you're using for your virtualization. And what you're really trying to determine here is, what is their financial relationship that they have, with that vendor. And what you really need to establish is, do they pay as they go, or do they have to pay for each time they spin up a new virtual machine? Chances are they're going to be virtualized with VMware. So the third question you need to ask them is, do you pay as you go, or do you have an enterprise license agreement with VMware or another of these competitors? And as I said, in our experience, most of these customers are paying each time they want to spin up a new virtual machine. So the way to respond to these answers to these questions is to say, did you know that with Windows Server 2008 R2 SP1, Microsoft now offers dynamic memory, remote FX, and with the latest version of Windows Server 2008 R2, we also offer live migration, which puts Microsoft at parity, if not better, than VMware for virtualization. You should start to get a nod of the head. Those are some of the key terms that they're hearing in the industry. And once you get that, you can then state, and did you know that if you have software assurance with Microsoft today, you already own the rights to these technologies, so you no longer need to pay VMware each time you want to spin up a new virtual machine. This typically gets their attention because they're trying to save costs. And then finally, you really get their attention if you say that with System Center, you can now manage their heterogeneous environment, including VMware, so you're not throwing away the investment that they've made, from a single pane of glass. And you close by saying, are you interested in learning more? Are you interested in a proof of concept or a pilot to prove this in your environment? Based on all the hundreds and hundreds of customer conversations we've been involved with, we've rarely come across a customer who has said no. And why would they? Because this is an opportunity for them to significantly save money. So this is kind of the roadmap. Ask those three questions to establish what kind of virtualization environment they have today, which vendor they have a relationship with, and how they're paying for their virtualization of applications and workloads. Establish that Microsoft is at parity with the latest versions of our products and technology, and also you can talk about what's coming in the future, and that the future looks even brighter. And then close by saying that System Center can enable them to manage this virtualization environment, including multiple hypervisors with a single pane of glass, leading to significant savings in costs. And this can lead to a whole host of additional questions that you can ask to basically get at some further cloud opportunities. For example, if the customer volunteers that they need to improve their server and client management capabilities, you can ask, what best describes their server image maintenance strategy? How are they doing their patching and updating? How are they doing asset management? That can service a number of other opportunities that you can pursue with a private cloud solution. If they share information they need to get better scale from their existing infrastructure, or the ongoing maintenance is starting to eat into their budget, then you can ask them to describe their server management process. You can ask them to talk about their server compliance policy, or how they do runbook automation. There's lots of follow-on questions that can get at some of these further opportunities. And rather than go through these with slideware, what I would like to do now is do a quick demonstration of a brand new tool that we developed called the Microsoft Cloud Assessment Tool. And this is a proven sales tool that you can use to unearth and identify what the real opportunities are for private cloud solutions amongst your customers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly share out my desktop. Let me bring up my web browser. And hopefully now everybody can see the website for the new cloud assessment tool. This is something you need to register for. It probably takes about 30 seconds just to share kind of who you are and what partner organization you work with. And once you've done that, just click on the Start the Cloud Assessment. And what this is going to do once I've logged onto the system, just type in my password here. It's given me a couple of options. What kind of conversation do I want to have? Do I want to have a high-level conversation? Oops. Too many fingers. Do I want to have a high-level conversation with a CIO? Or do I want to have a more specific workload conversation with an application workload owner? There's information here about how to use the system. You can watch some online videos, but it's very intuitive, and let me prove that by quickly going into the tool. Here's the tool to start with a CIO conversation, or if you want to have a more detailed, in-depth discussion around specific workloads for messaging, collaboration, unified communication, CRM, or other line of business solutions, then you can use this tool. Rather than go through and answer all the questions, what I'm going to do is go up to some of my earlier assessments that I created. I'm going to click on one here for a fictitious company called VM Limited. And you can see that it's saved all the information that I have about this customer. So about their size, the number of physical servers, what kind of maturity they have for their infrastructure. If I click on Next, it's going to ask me a series of questions in terms of what are their top business priorities, what are their top IT initiatives. If I click on the down arrow here, I can get up a variety of different options. And then I'm asked to describe a little bit more information about the state of their strategy and their philosophy to IT. I'm not going to go through every single question here, but there are just a few simple questions that enable you to glean, what's the level of maturity of this business organization. And then it's going to get into questions about, ranking the priority of different workloads. So I'm just going to go in and answer what I think the top priorities are for this organization. I can determine whether or not it's right for a physical or a virtual environment for these different solutions. How far they've, progressed in terms of implementing some of these solutions. What proportion of their organization use these workloads? As you might expect, they're all using messaging and unified comms. Have some specialists for collaboration and a few for line of business and CRM. What's the level of integration with different applications? I'm just going to highlight some of these answers here. Of course, you can save all this information, or you can interpret it for the customer and just ask them to confirm it. Let's just answer the last few questions, and I want to show what happens next. And that basically is all you need to have a very high-level conversation with the CIO. And what it will do is it'll highlight what their strategic priorities are. It'll highlight what the basic recommendations are in terms of their infrastructure platform, whether or not they should go for physical, virtual, private cloud, or public cloud. And then it'll provide you with that analysis broken out by each of the workloads that you specified previously as you went through the questionnaire. Once you finish that, you can print out a customized output. If I click on Open here, what it's going to do is open up Word, and it's going to launch the report, which I can then just print off and share with the customer. If I go to the table of contents here, most important thing obviously to point out is the results, and you can spend some time going through the results of this analysis with your customer, get their feedback on it, and hopefully get their commitment to invest in some kind of assessment, proof of concept, pilot, or maybe even a full-blown deployment. So please check out this tool. We think it's a very valuable tool that will lead to some very productive conversations with your customers. So what I'm going to do now is just return back to the presentation, and I want to talk a little bit about the next part about sort of driving that sales conversation, and that is around talking about licensing. I mentioned earlier that the way that we sell a Microsoft Private Cloud solution is through something called the Enrollment for Core Infrastructure, or ECI. This is an enrollment that you add to an enterprise agreement. a licensing agreement that basically gives the customer easy and a very cost-effective way to license Windows Server with System Center and with Forefront Client Security. For you as sellers, ECI provides a way for you to increase your customers' commitment to Microsoft virtualization and our management technologies, which are basically the things that underpin a private cloud solution. And it also reduces the licensing complexity and lowers the overall solution cost. As you can see, there are 3 editions: Standard, Enterprise, and Data Center. Obviously, each edition is based on the underlying product edition. So Windows Server Standard comes with, obviously, the Standard Edition, etc. These suites, just like the underlying Windows Server products, provide 1 to 4 unlimited virtual instances. So remember, a customer gets 4 virtualized instances of Windows Server by purchasing 2 processors, because each of those are licensed to support 2 virtual instances. So Standard makes most economic sense for a 1-proc machine. Enterprise, obviously, for 2-proc machines. And Data Center is a great system for 2 procs, but also goes above and beyond that as well. And from a pricing perspective, Data Center is only about 5% more than the Windows Server Data Center Edition. Enterprise is only about 8% more than Windows Server Enterprise, and Standard is only about 15% more than Windows Server Standard. So some significant cost savings for your customers. Why is ECI good for you and your customers? Well, it's all to do with the way that we do our licensing and the fact that we standardize this on a per processor basis across all of the products. Basically, that simplifies the licensing for you and the licensing for your customers. Obviously, cost depends on the mix of processors and the particular edition that they choose. But as I said, it can be a significant discount from, say, 13 to 29% versus buying a standalone. If you're unsure about how to position ECI and understand the licensing, we've built a calculator that's available out on the Microsoft Partner Network website. It has all the details that you need to basically position this and go through the details with your customers. And just please note, one of the biggest questions you get from customers is, how do I license my desktops, my clients? And all you really need to know is that the client requirements stay the same. In other words, for Forefront Client Security and System Center, they require CALs. And for Windows Server, they obviously require CALs that you can acquire through either CAL Suites, the eCal or the Core CAL, or through standalone enterprise enrollment for desktops. So we've simplified the licensing on the server side, and the client licensing stays the same as it is for Windows Server, Forefront Client Security, and System Center. So that really completes the second section. What I want to do now is talk a little bit about the third section, which is what are we doing to provide you with some air cover? How are we creating some sales leads for you and some marketing campaigns and channel incentives that you can take advantage of to drive some sales leads and opportunities? And let me first of all kind of share with you the framework, and it starts with building broad awareness and perception for Microsoft Cloud solutions relative to our competitors. And this we achieved through global advertising. Last fiscal, we spent $150 million on our Cloud Power advertising campaign. This year, we're taking a slightly different approach, and we're going deeper on each of the different cloud solutions from Microsoft. So there'll be a renewed kind of focus specifically on private cloud. In addition, we are launching a brand new demand generation campaign that we call Journey to the Cloud. And part of that is the launches for System Center 2012, Windows Server 8, and our small and medium business solution, SPS Essentials. And essentially, we're creating all of the content that you would require to deliver a Journey to the Cloud event for your customers and share all the information about our products and our solutions and the way that we license those products. And then finally, we have a number of sales activation programs. The Hyper-V Cloud Accelerate program is funding to drive proof of concepts and deployments. The Solution Incentive program is a channel incentive targeted at SIs, where we provide advisor fees if you share your opportunity pipeline with Microsoft. Deployment planning services is an SA benefit for customers where they get vouchers they can redeem with a partner to help them with deployment services. Then the Hyper-V Cloud Fast Track program is a program with OEMs to build pre-configured, pre-validated hardware that you can use to start your private cloud implementation. So let's just go into those in a little bit more detail. I'll start with Hyper-V Cloud Accelerate. And like I said, this is funding for driving private cloud proof of concepts and deployments. For a 3 to 5 host solution, we offer up to $5,000 for proof of concepts and $10,000 for deployments. And for a larger scale solution, over 15 hosts, we offer $25,000 for deployment. All we require is that you deploy a solution that includes Windows Server 2008 R2 with Hyper-V and some of our key System Center products that are required for building a private cloud solution. Virtual Machine Manager, Operations Manager, and the self-service portal, which provides this provisioning capability, or the Hyper-V Cloud Fast Track program. So if you're interested in getting funding to drive proof of concepts for deployments, please follow up with your account manager for further details. The second program is the Solution Incentive Program. And this is a way for us to pay partners advisor fees when they share their opportunity pipeline with us and they put that pipeline into Partner Sales Exchange, or PSX. Once that opportunity has been closed, not by you, but typically by a transaction partner, a large account reseller, we basically pay you an advisor fee for bringing that opportunity to Microsoft. We pay up to 30% of the licensing for suites, up to 20% for standalone virtualization solutions, 5% for standalone management, and 5% for specific identity and security solutions. Namely the forefront virus protection solutions and the unified access gateway. So again, if you're interested to learn more about that program, follow up with your PAM, but it's open to any partner with a gold competency. And then the third program is the Deployment Planning Services. So this is a benefit for any customer that has software assurance with their licensing agreement. They get a certain number of vouchers based on the type of product they purchased and the number of licenses they've acquired, and they can redeem those vouchers with a partner like yourself, have to be a gold competency partner, to be able to get funding from Microsoft to execute those that deployment engagement. And there are 3 scenarios that we support: an upgrade from Windows Server 2003 to 2008 R2, the implementation of a basic virtualization and systems management, and then a full-blown private cloud deployment. So again, there's information up on the Microsoft.com website around deployment planning services, and you can follow up with your PAM for further information. And then finally, the last program is the Hyper-V Cloud Fast Track program, which is a program that we built with some of the top OEMs in the marketplace you can see listed on this slide. And basically, it's a reference architecture that's based on hundreds of deployments that we have built in conjunction with these OEMs. And these OEMs have built a series of configured hardware where they've standardized on the compute, storage, and the networking to build these pre-configured, pre-validated solutions that will work right out of the box. These 8 system vendors that you can see listed here probably represent 80% plus of the worldwide server market today, and they offer all kinds of hardware configurations that range from 8 to 32 nodes, or 640 to 4,000 virtual machines. So very, very scalable solutions that can meet the needs of your largest customers. So that's a little bit about some of the sales activation programs that you can leverage to build an opportunity pipeline or to help you close that pipeline. I'd just like to kind of close the session by talking about how we can win together. And really it boils down to these 6 things. Firstly, Microsoft has a clearly differentiated solution, not just for private cloud computing, but for cloud computing all up. We can provide a very comprehensive, integrated solution for private cloud, for public cloud, with a common set of capabilities that can bridge between the two, so you can deliver hybrid cloud solutions to your customers. We have the fastest growing hypervisor in the marketplace with between 22 to 23% market share, and that's growing faster than any of our competitors. And our systems management suite, System Center, is growing in excess of 40%, which greatly exceeds the market today and any of our competitors. We have clear pricing and licensing advantages over the competition. A Microsoft solution is much cheaper than compared to, say, a VMware solution. We're investing millions of dollars in demand generation through our cloud power advertising and our Journey to the Cloud campaigns. We're investing a ton of money into our channel incentives, as well as sales tools like the cloud assessment tool I demoed earlier to help you identify sales opportunities and help you to close them. And we have proven partner economics that show that you can make a lot of money in expanding your server virtualization practice and delivering a full-blown private cloud solution. So with that, I'd just like to share with you some resources that you might want to follow up with after this presentation. These are all hypertext links. You'll be able to click on them and follow the links to find out more information about these different offers and programs. And obviously, we'll share this presentation with you after the event. I want to close on and make a plug for the Microsoft Sales Specialist. I did a poll earlier that showed that some of you have already taken some of these accreditations, but I encourage you to take the brand new Private Cloud Sales Specialist accreditation. You can see what it's delivered for Quadra, who are one of the partners that really recognize the value of these accreditations. So I encourage you to take a closer look at some of those accreditations. And with that, I'd like to open it up to Q&A and see if there's any questions that I can answer.
And Mark, while we're waiting for that, do you mind if I go through these final two slides here?
Please do.
All right. So, folks, again, just a reminder, thank you for attending our Time to Thrive, BWeb's Next Selling Series. All sessions are recorded for future viewing and can be found at Sales Specialist Central. Also, we have one more here. Continue the discussion. So join us, Sales Specialist Group, on LinkedIn after the webcast. And it gives you the address here. And again, you can download this from the handout section of our deck here today. And then finally, I'm clicking over here. What you're going to see coming up shortly here is now going to be a survey. This is a web page. Please enter your email address to access the survey questions. We appreciate you taking a moment to fill this out prior to logging out. And then please be sure to click on the Submit button at the bottom of the page to ensure that your feedback has been received. And with that, I will turn it back over to Mark. If we don't have any questions in the log, if there's any final words you'd like to say.
I don't see anything in the log, but my alias is Mark Hass, M-A-R-K-H-A-S at Microsoft.com. If you wanted to share any questions with me via email, I'll be happy to get back to you and help answer them. So all that remains for me to say is to thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mark. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this does conclude today's event. All materials from today's presentation will be available at http://WAC/WAC-Academy on the session's webpage. Partners, you're going to be able to access the recording through the Partner Learning Center in approximately 24 hours. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenter, Mark, and thank you, audience, for logging in and joining us today.